Here's a pretty crazy story. So, as you guys know, one of the things that I didn't support during the Obama administration was the high use of drones because, it ends up killing innocent civilians very often, and that ends up radicalizing people who are in the Middle East because if someone sees that their family member, their grandma, their aunt, their sister, their brother was killed by not the Taliban or something, but it rather a drone from the U.S., I mean, who are they going to be in opposition to? So the Obama administration would very often lie about the civilian toll that came with drones. Um, they would super undercut it and not give the real numbers. But now Trump is actually just full on canceling it. So this story reads, Trump cancels U.S. report on civilian deaths in drone strikes. It says President Donald Trump revoked a requirement that U.S. intelligence officials publicly report the number of civilians killed in drone strikes and other attacks on terrorist targets outside war zones. Trump formally ended the requirement with an executive order on Wednesday, months after signaling such a move. The administration last year ignored a May deadline for an annual accounting of civilian and enemy casualties required under an order signed in 2016 by then-President Barack Obama. The order was part of an accountability effort to minimize civilian deaths from drone strikes. So, obviously, civilian deaths from drone strikes is something that we should be very worried about and work actively to solve because it ends up being counterintuitive to the whole mission of the United States in these engagements that they're in. And also, by the way, basically as soon as Trump had became president, what had ended up happening is the rules of engagement had become extremely lax. And so the amount of civilians that were being killed in places like Syria and Iraq went through the roof. So, these civilian casualties were already going through the roof. Now there's a curtain being pulled over it, and there's an accountability being removed. And this accountability was already very little because the Obama admin would just straight up undercut and lie about the numbers of civilian tolls that they had. And also worth mentioning that, remember that story, the insane story where Donald Trump said that, or Trump was responding to someone who I believe was in some military meeting or something, and they were like, we were waiting for these civilians to move before getting this guy. And Trump said, why did you even wait? And so what Donald Trump is doing is he's just outright advocating for the killing of innocent civilians, which is absolute lunacy, dude. And I can't believe the fact that we're in a situation where that wasn't the biggest story for a very long time. It wasn't even the biggest story for a day. But that is the, biggest scandal. It's a huge scandal. And this is just, more in the shitty direction that's degrading our nation, unfortunately.